I mean, I think it's important to be in the room, right? I mean, I found myself in my career being the only woman in the room, whether it was investment banking or entertainment or gaming. There was nothing for us to follow, so we had to do it our own way. I go to our community events, I'm at our fan fest, I sit in the stadium with our fans. It's gotten me in trouble because I'm a fan and not an owner during our games.
Empowering the future of sports industry leadership for everyone committed to fair representation in sport. You're now listening to the SportsPro New Era podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the New Era podcast. I'm Katie and I'm joined by Elena. Hello, Elena.
Hi, Katie. How are you?
Very good, thank you. We are currently at SportsPro Live for everyone listening, which is one of our biggest events of the year, if not the biggest, based in London. And it's also the event that we do the most New Era activations at. So we're very excited and loving life at the moment. How have you found it so far, Elena?
It's been amazing. First of all, I have loved seeing so many of our New Era community, class, steering group, alumni. It's been amazing because I think we get so much online time with them, but never actually see them in person. So yeah, it's been really, really good. We've just had a lovely lunch of a room packed with women, which has been amazing. Yummy food, very sunny London, which is a new thing.
Yep.
I don't know how long it will last, but it's been great to have an event. We are actually at the Kia Oval, which has an amazing kind of outdoor space. Katie, I did see you hitting that cricket bat.
Oh yeah, we should probably talk about that actually. The Hit for Six competition that we run with our charity partner Sport in Mind, we're basically allowing everyone to hit sixes from not quite the middle of the pitch. I think that might have been a bit optimistic for all of our delegates or just myself maybe, but it was super fun. Everyone got involved. A beautiful day for it, as you said. But yeah, it's been great.
I saw you and Nella whacking that bat and the ball I thought I was not going to do that or I was going to hit someone, so I left it to the pros.
Do you think I almost hit my boss on the boundary, which was, I don't know, that could have been quite funny or horrific. I'm not really sure, but it didn't go there, so it was fine.
But yeah, no, it was really nice. A lot of activations, just really nice energy all around. Some really interesting panels. Day one started with an incredible talk from Michelle Kang, which, I think a lot of people were looking forward to that one.
Yeah, so alongside the on-stage content, we also are running our annual New Era Open Day, which is where we invite women and non-binary executives that apply to come to SportsPro Live for free. But the open day consists of a breakfast in the morning, so for networking, meeting other women and men, sort of allies in the industry, alongside a panel that we do with our New Era steering group. We then have an Ask Me Anything session, which again is with our steering group, and it's just for the women and non-binary attendees at the event. So it's a closed door sort of Chatham House rules session, which is always amazing and super insightful and just incredible. And then we also do networking drinks and other networking activations throughout the day as well. So really looking forward to that. And yeah, we do it every year. So I'm excited to see how it goes again tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure. And on the front of networking and getting to meet new people, I actually can say I fangirled over this because I love Angel City FC. And we spoke to Julie Uhrman, who is the CEO and co-founder of Angel City FC. Hopefully everyone has heard of that club, but if not, you'll hear firsthand from Julie, who shares kind of her vision, her journey into actually, founding the club, the challenges she's had on the way, but also kind of what they're doing in terms of giving back, because a huge part of Angel City FC is fostering that community, nurturing all those relationships in there and being quite innovative. So without further ado, we'll let you dive into our chat with Judy. This is the SportsPro New Era podcast. Lovely to have you with us. I hope you've enjoyed the day so far. We're chatting about London and it's sunny weather right now.
I feel right at home, so appreciate the sun.
Super. Well, we'll get straight into things. I kind of want to touch on the fact that you've worked across the male-dominant industry for a long time, but in various sectors as well. I know you covered gaming, investment banking, and entertainment, done the whole lot. What has been the common thread and passion that has connected all these various roles, and how did it lead to the creation of Angel City FC?
Yeah, I think it's important to be in the room, right? I found myself in my career being the only woman in the room, whether it was investment banking or entertainment or gaming. And with Angel City, we sort of flipped the table because we were the room. So when we built Angel City, my co-founders Karen Ortman and Natalie Portman, we wanted to build an organization reflective of our values and reflective of the values that we wanted to bring to sports. We felt like the U.S. women's national team players were the best in the world. They all played in the NWSL. Not a lot of people knew the NWSL existed. I certainly didn't when Kara approached me to build Angel City. And when we built it, we wanted to build a team that was diverse, but reflective of the community we wanted to serve. And so creating a leadership team entirely of women, I think, is one of our keys to success because we have this incredible drive. So I think one of the things that made me stand out is I learned along the way that there's a difference between vision and conviction. Vision is having that plan, right? It's seeing the goalpost so far away. But conviction is saying no matter what comes my way, I'm going to continue moving forward. And in women's sports, we had a ton of obstacles that we had to overcome. Nobody invests in women's sports. Nobody watches women's sports. Nobody cares about women's sports. Media wasn't talking about women's sports. Broadcast wasn't covering women's sports. And specifically in Los Angeles, it's a very crowded sports market with 11 professional sports teams. So for us, it was, yes, we understand all of that, but we believe that we have the best players in the world that play in the best league in the world. We're building a club in the sports capital of the world. So how do we build a product that is deserving of this community that follows these players and these players that work just as hard as men, but put on just as incredible of a game day match as their counterparts?
Yeah, and you touched on, obviously, that's kind of the whole vision and mission of Angel City FC, but coming onto a personal front, I've heard you mention that what drove your interest in a lot, this whole thing of business of sport exists out there, was from a movie. And I'd love you to share what was it in that movie that kind of unlocked that for you?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. So I grew up playing basketball and I love sports. And I think if you love sports and you're good at it, you immediately want to have a career in it. And so when I was younger, a movie came out called Jerry Maguire that stars Tom Cruise, where he's an agent. And I was like, oh, this is a job I can have in sports, right? I can be an agent, and was all excited about that. And then I realized that the real life Jerry Maguire works in the middle of the United States. And I was like, I'm not leaving Los Angeles for the middle of the United States. And that was the end of it. Like, I didn't even think that I could be a president of a club. I could run commercialization. I can run marketing. It never occurred to me. And when you look at owners and presidents of clubs, they're all men. So I went a different path, which I went into investment banking, which is also sort of male dominant, and then gaming, which is male dominant. And when Kara and Natalie approached me to build Angel City together, there's still no women in leadership positions. So it was really important for us to tell our story broad and wide, to be unapologetic about how we built the club in a way that was undeniable. And for us, most importantly, was to build a club that we wanted to be a part of. And in 2019, on the heels of the Me Too movement and the Time's Up movement, where the U.S. women's national team was fighting for pay equity, we wanted to be part of that and really drive for pay equity, gender equity, visibility equity in women's sports. And so the mission of Angel City being using sport and entertainment to drive to equity. And I think, I don't know if we would have been so bold if there was an example out there, because the challenge with examples is you want to do it their way. And I think one of the benefits for Angel City in hindsight was because there was no playbook, there was nothing for us to follow. So we had to do it our own way. And now we have our own docuseries that other people can follow, and they can say, yeah, they did a great job here, but we're gonna veer off there.
The movie that inspires them.
Absolutely. And to show that it's possible. Like, just because it hasn't been done before doesn't mean it's possible. My mom's favorite saying is, she didn't know it couldn't be done, so she went ahead and did it. And that's what Angel City is.
I think following on from that, and you saying there has been no playbook for Angel City, what was the biggest no that you've turned into a yes? And how did you sort of face that uncertainty? And what were the biggest lessons that came out of that uncertain time?
I mean, first and foremost was raising money. So we tried to raise money the traditional way and find a single individual that would fund the whole thing. And we heard every no in the book, from you can't be successful in LA, it's too crowded in the sports market, to you're three women, to you're three women with no sports experience. That was actually valid, to the fact that nobody watched women's sports. So we were incredibly discouraged by the no's. We received over 100 no's and got to the point where it was like, maybe it's too early, right? And then Natalie Portman introduced us to Eva Longoria, and who became our first yes. And the aha moment there was, we were just talking to the wrong people. So sometimes it's not the idea that's wrong, but we weren't talking to people that wanted to invest in sports, liked football, liked women's football. We just weren't talking to the right people. And what was unique about Eva is that she understood that we wanted to build a platform, right? The platform that stood for impact and revenue, which goes to sort of the second no, which is like, you can't do both. You're a football club, be a football club. I'm like, no, 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 we're both. We want to build an organization where mission and capital can coexist. And then we got the, well, I don't understand. Are you a charity or are you a football club? And it's like, no, we can be both because we can use our platform to talk about the impact we're making and the impact we want to make, as well as build, the best professional football club in the world and be successful on the pitch. And so that was another no. And, today we launched our sponsorship model where we give 10% of our sponsorship dollars back in the community. We put $3.4 million to work. I've driven more sponsorship revenue because of that sponsorship model than if I didn't have it.
You've mentioned it already, I think, in a documentary that you're doing and how you're sharing your own playbook. Do you want to talk a bit more around that and how you're sort of leading the way in that sense, and hopefully others can sort of take notes from you?
Yeah. I mean, what's, unique about women's football is prior to Angel City, there was no massive investment in it. You weren't investing in the community and in the players and in the product on the pitch and the entertainment surrounding the players and in the commerce and the kits and the merch, right? So it was almost like you were investing as little as possible because you believed in the sport, but not enough to put real money at risk. And so with Angel City, we did the opposite. We were intentional about the money that we invested in and intentional where we spent it. And we focused it on the communities and on the players and on the product, because that's what would build value. And that's what ultimately will drive to the equity that we seek. And so the docuseries is really from our first year, but it shows how we just looked at the market and said, this is what it should be. And we went and did it versus what everyone else is doing. Because if I did what everyone else is doing, there'd be no Angel City, right? So we said, like, if we're going to build a sports team in LA, well, you have to sell out the stadium. There's no alternative. This is Los Angeles. This is the Dodgers and the Lakers and the Clippers and the Rams, LAFC, the Galaxy. There's no alternative. Okay, so how do we build a business model and how do we build an experience to sell it out? LA, is incredibly diverse. So how do we create the pricing to reflect the quality of the product on the pitch? So we can have people that can come for $15, but you can sit next to the coach for $1,000 and you can buy a suite for $50,000. And all of that has value. And how are we really intentional about providing those experiences?
So many teams are trying to adopt your playbook, but may not have seen similar successes. What do you think you're doing that other teams are missing?
In some ways, we're fortunate because we don't have the history. We don't have the history of the men's game. We're not tied to a men's team. We're not tied to the lack of investment just in women's sports. The United States benefited from Title IX, which was a massive change in getting more women into sport. I think if I was going to look at the key parts for Angel City, it's the investment in the community, first and foremost, making the community feel a part of Angel City, be heard, building and growing together. Leading with community is incredibly important. 2, then build them an experience that they are proud of, where they want to bring someone else. Our home opener was the greatest show on earth. And every game since is somebody's first game. That's our mentality. Every game is somebody's first game, an experience for all. So how does our team think about that, right? And so if I'm a new club, how do I build with the community? How do I build a product that they are proud of, which requires investment? And then how do I build something spectacular for the players, like a high performance environment where they can make a living being only a footballer, and when they walk in the door, they have everything they need to be successful. And if you can do those 3 things, I think you can be pretty successful.
Yeah, and I think coming off the back of what Katie just asked, I think a lot of clubs actually struggle to hit that mark between community and winning because there's been such a focus on winning. But I think one of the things you have done so successfully is creating that emotional loyalty. And I'll say for myself, like, I have followed Angel City all the way through, and I will say, like, I don't know every team, every player's name on the team, but I do follow the club. I do follow what you do, and I thank you. That is a testament to what you've done, because I think it's about understanding fans, understanding that demographic, and you don't have to know every player on the team. It would be good. I will do my homework. But I'd be interested to hear kind of what's that balance between creating that emotional loyalty and not just caring about what the performance is.
I mean, you said it yourself, it's getting you to care. And that's all about storytelling. So telling the story of our players, telling the story of our club, telling the story of our community, finding something that you can connect with. Everybody longs for a sense of belonging and a community, right? So you can come to Angel City games, you find your community, and you get to share experiences. In our stadium on the roof, we have something called the Sunset Deck, and it's open for about 90 minutes after the game is over. Win or lose, it's packed. Right. And that is like the biggest gauge for how we continue to create that emotional connection with our fan base. It's much better when I go up there when we win. It's much better when we win, but they know how hard we're working and we share it with them. We they knew about our head coach before anybody else did. Like they're in the know in the same way we need to know when we're not delivering for them. But being really a values-driven organization requires us to partner with our community and make sure our community is proud of us.
Sorry to interrupt your podcast. Just wanted to give you a quick heads up about something exciting coming up this summer. July 8th and 9th will mark the very first SportsPro Investment Summit in London, where the sharpest minds in finance meet the most exciting opportunities in global sport. From private equity to emerging markets, women's sport to valuation strategy, this is where capital meets clarity, and you won't want to miss it. Early bird passes are on sale until June 16th, so do secure your spot at investment.sportspro.com. Save your front row seat for the future of sports investment today. You're now listening to the SportsPro New Era podcast. And now going on to the technical side of the performance-based thing, there's been a change in how kind of recruitment of players and the college draft and so on, that has now been removed. And I know obviously, from what I've understood, you're a fan of that. And I think it is quite a positive spin on things. What has been your approach in kind of the player development pathway, scouting? How has that all affected Angel City?
Yeah, I mean, it's a real change to no longer have the college draft in the NWSL. It does require teams to build scouting departments, analytic departments, recruiting departments. I am in favor of players having more control over their career, and that's what removing the draft did. It really gave a sense of free agency. But it also means that we can go after the players we want, and the players that want to be in LA can come to us. And we think that actually will create for a better team environment and a better product on the pitch if people are playing where they want to be. We've increased our analytics team. We're building out our own database in-house. So we're putting a lot of investment into identifying players. As it relates to the development of players, we're bringing more trialists into our environment, practicing with the first team, with our performance team, so we can develop them. So when they're ready, hopefully they want to sign a contract with Angel City. The league in of itself talks a lot about pathway to pro and how do we want to address that. Developing players is the only way we can grow as a league. And finding that incredible talent also allows us to grow the value of the league and the value of the teams. So I think every club's going to do it a little bit differently. I think we have a lot to offer players from, not only being part of Angel City and being in the City of Angels, but also being a great place for them to build their brand, to develop commercial relationships. But we're getting a lot smarter on recruiting and identifying talent.
Yeah, and I think this brings you a bit closer to kind of the global way football, soccer works, more of the European model and so on. That kind of system of like the college draft has been a very US thing. Is there anything you think the US does well that would translate well in Europe in terms of how, the system works, the processes and so on?
Well, I mean, I think it's come as far as development and recruitment, Europe's ahead of us. I think where we have the edge is really in the investment, in the facilities, in the game day, in the players, in the whole ecosystem. Angel City's investment has, I think, paid it forward, and you're seeing other clubs invest, Washington Spirit and Kansas City, and then you see the expansion fees at Bay and Boston, and most recently Denver, which came in at $110 million. But they're coming in with the intention to invest. You're not paying $110 million and not spending $20-30 million a year on your club, right? And so that level of investment is going to increase the quality of the product, which is going to make the best players want to play here, and then younger players want to develop here.
Soccer is scrutinised a lot for not being profitable, especially on the women's side. One of Angel FC's goals is to give back. So how do you balance that profitability with the purpose? And obviously we've spoken a lot about community, but how do you balance that?
So we built it that way from the beginning. So the nice thing is we don't have to balance it, and we don't have to do trade-offs, because we said that we would never sacrifice one for the other. So our 10% business model is built into our P&L, right? The impact is built, our 200 events a year are built into our P&L because we want to be in the community, giving back to the community, building attention and awareness for the community, which ultimately should drive ticket sales, which then will drive concessions, which might drive merch sales, right? So we did it from the beginning. And again, if we weren't, I believe without the 10% model, we wouldn't drive as much sponsorship revenue. So we've proven they go hand in hand. In the same way, you're a fan of Angel City because you believe in our values and our mission and it's exciting. If we were just a football club, would you? I don't know, right? So the point is, we built it that way from the beginning so we don't have to balance it. And we actually know that the impact actually drives our revenue higher.
Yeah, and I think we've touched on the philosophy around every game is someone's first game. Personally, I think there's a lot of performative branding, a lot of names and mottos and stuff attached to things. How do you ensure that Angel City shows up authentically? And also what would be interesting is to hear how you show up authentically to your team. Because, this is a broader thing of like Angel City, but I think it's so important that leaders also have that philosophy into their team and the club culture.
Yeah, as far as how I show up, I'm in service of Angel City and what we're building. I attend every game, home and away. I go to our community events. I'm at our fan fest. I sit in the stadium with our fans, which, has gotten me in trouble because I am a fan and not an owner during our games. The reality is I'm both. But, it's important to know who your community is. Like, how can you build something for them if you don't know who they are? So, I make an effort to go to our impact events, to go to our community events, and to be at all of our games. And it's really important to me. And I don't see a lot of people doing that, but it also brings me incredible joy to see the impact we're making, feel the impact, and feel and hear from our community how we can improve and what they're looking for. It brings me joy.
Yeah. So as the sports market becomes more competitive, and obviously women's sport has grown so much over the past decade, probably more, but definitely more recently, and especially with more partnerships, more commercial growth, and players especially building their own fan bases on social media and whatever else. How do you stay ahead and continue writing that playbook?
Yeah, first of all, it's fascinating. It's 2025 and we're talking about competition, right? And there is. If you look in the United States, when there was the NWSL and the WNBA, and now there's the Premier Women's Hockey League, and there's Unrivaled, and there's Love Volleyball, and there's a professional softball league, and then there's pickleball and padel, and you got World Sevens football. There's a lot of growth specifically in women's sports, which I think is amazing. For us, it's about staying true to where our values are. So building something specifically for the community, leveraging, building our fan base around our players, helping the players build their identity, and then, continuing to share the mission of Angel City. I think we're unique. I think we don't sacrifice mission for capital. I think we try to lead by example by having sold out stadiums and, a price point that's reflective of the product and experiences that are unique for everyone. So I think if we can keep doing what we say we're going to do, we'll stay ahead. I think the next big thing for us is winning. So we started the season off really well and excited, and we have a new head coach, Alex Strauss, joining us in June. So winning on the pitch is, I think, going to take us to another level. But there are very few clubs that are bigger than just the product on the pitch. And as long as we continue to lean into that, I think we have pole position and advantage in this marketplace.
Amazing. And as we wrap up, I've got one question for you that I've asked everyone on the interview today. What is one thing you wish you knew earlier in your career?
Oh, I wish, maybe it's a little bit of slowing down. I was, in a rush to, get to the next level, to get that promotion. But to take a little bit more time. It took me a long time to find my way to sports, always knowing it was a passion and I loved it. But I think if I slowed down and was intentional about I want to be in sports, I, probably would have been in it sooner. And, but then again, who knows if Angel City would have happened. But I don't think I would be in such a rush.
Nice.
And the only other thing I would say is, and I tell my daughter this all the time, your careers are really long. I have been working for half my life. So there's no need to be in a rush. You can take your time. You can take vacations. The job's not going to pass you by. And having that opportunity to have more experiences only helps you in your career.
And one last question to wrap up. I know both Kate and I are obviously fairly fresh in the industry and in our career path as well. And with this whole new era program as well, it's all about kind of speaking to women and non-binary execs in the industry about how to navigate it and how to show up. And I think, there's a lot of women that we've spoken to who have drive and have their own personal missions, but sometimes struggle to find the right people, as you mentioned, or the right pathways. What would your advice be to, women in the industry who have that, drive and want to do stuff, but are still struggling to find, the right people or the right path?
Yeah, I mean, look, networking is really important, and events like this are incredibly important. When I built Angel City, my whole team was new. I'd never worked with them before. So I leveraged my network a lot to figure out who was best in the skill set and the experience that I needed for the particular role. And now it's how can I bring other people along? So I continue to build my network so I can try to put people in positions where they can be successful. I wish I networked more when I was younger. It's a lot easier today with LinkedIn and social media, but growing your network as big as possible and then making sure they know what you're good at. I'm the CEO of Angel City because Karen Nortman knew I was a good operator, even though she never worked with me. And then she gave me the chance and opportunities. So network and give people chances. That's what I would say.
Amazing. Thank you so much for all your insights. It was lovely to chat with you.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Empowering the future of sports industry leadership for everyone committed to fair representation in sport. This is the SportsPro New Era podcast.